All right. Well, I mean, we might have some more people trickling in, but I don't see any reason why we can't get started. So, yeah, Scotty and I are coming back in to the group.
Yay.
So, um, yeah, I don't really have a formal introduction plan at all for this meeting. I thought this was going to be a pretty informal introductory kickoff. So I think we can just start how we always do with a round of introductions. So, like who you are, why you're here, what you're interested in, kind of thing. So I'll start. My name's Renee Brown. I'm now at the Arizona State University, and I'm a research engineer with a group called the Sun Corridor Network and working on a 5-year NSF project led by Scotty to build capacity for connectivity in remote areas of the West. And I see several of my colleagues here from that project. Previously, it was in New Mexico, and most of you have heard my spiel about that, so I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to go to the next person on my screen, who is Scotty.
Okay, thanks, Renee. Yeah, so Scotty Strachan. I know a number of the people that are here. It's really good to see you guys again. I am, since 2022, principal research engineer at the Nevada System of Higher Education, NevadaNet. So still working within Nevada's higher ed and university system, but not at the campus level, at the state level. And I've been promoting and supporting distributed research technologies and developing Nevada's research IT strategy between the institutions, wireless and distributed sensor networks being one of the strengths in our state. So it's something I'm still very tied to. But I've also been getting my fingers into a number of other things. So it's cool to be back. As you'll hear from us more in the future, we've got a cool new project where we've managed to convince the National Science Foundation that technology off the fiber and technology outside the data center is still very important for and increasingly important for cyber infrastructure funding considerations and professional development. And that is um, what the Wild West project is that Renee and myself are part of, as well as a few other colleagues here. One of my co-PIs, Jim Stewart's on the call. So, Renee, I'm assuming you want me to pass the torch. Oh, also Jim and I and anyone else who on the Wild West team, the PI team that shows up in this call, we have to drop out early because this is overlapping with our weekly team call there. So Renee will drop out around the 30-minute mark and let you guys carry on. I'm going to pass the torch to Steve Young because his mic's off.
Oh, hey. Yeah, so Steve Young, EPA retired. I was at EPA for 30 plus years prior to retirement. Um, Among other things, I'm kind of a weather geek and I'm very interested in biodiversity. So I have sort of a little weather sensor farm in my backyard that keeps me mildly entertained. And I was musing about it coming up to the meeting. I'm a huge fan of the iNaturalist program that many of you, I'm sure, know. And I was thinking that that could be kind of an interesting model for fusing that type of citizen or community science, in a way, sensing activities with other streams of data that are coming in to do creative things. So I thought I would just kind of toss that out there, um, as one possible topic to kick around. And with that, how about Joseph? How about I pass it to you?
Fantastic. Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. Joseph Bell. I get to be with USGS, and I get to be the water quality specialist for California and Water Science Center, and that's awesome. That's a new job from 2 years ago, and I did have an ability to maintain a foot in the research sector, but with the recent changes, all the folks that I was working with are gone, so it's just me. So I get to be the water quality specialist at California right now. And one of my biggest interests and how I can kind of keep related to ESIP here in this cluster is that I'm looking at ancillary data, metadata from sensors that accompany an observation to be used for auto approving a data, an observation or a data point, right? Like, is this data point good? Right? We're asking that question. Can we use the information that the sensor provides to get a sense of that? And then from the larger libraries, ask the question, is that data point representative? And the reason why we have this is the data comes into the USGS, it gets stamped provisional, and we have a window of time that we must review this data before it drops off. So we're looking at the aspects of using informed learning models to approve our data. So that's eating up a lot of my time right now. But then also on the citizen science side of it, I'm with a community in Plainfield, Vermont, and we're starting a network to inform the public about rapidly rising stream conditions. Plainfield has been struck twice in the past 3 years with catastrophic flooding, and it's a bit of a testament of how the system in Vermont is changing. I'll stop there because I'm rambling, and I see Joe Breen is next to me. So, Joe, would you care to jump in?
What am I jumping into? Sorry, I was a couple minutes late.
And that's why you're right next to me. I'm sorry about that. We're simply doing introductions. Where you are, where you're coming from, how you relate with the cluster, interest in the cluster.
Okay, I'm Joe Breen with the University of Utah Center for High Performance Computing. How I relate to this is understanding the back end, putting it together, and working through the Wild West project that Scotty's leading, and to look at things of different sensor implementations end to end, from in the field all the way back to the HPC, and how to bring this in real time. My focus is networking, so whether it's wireless or fiber or otherwise. And then whoever will be next. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. I'll just help you out here. Keen Flynn, I see you next.
Howdy. My name is Ken Flynn. I work for Scotty Strachan underneath in the Wild West project. I am a field networks research engineer. Yeah, and as Joe was saying, that he works on the HPC side of aggregating all this data. I'm working on the field side of aggregating all this data. So two sides of the same coin there. Yeah. Some of the interests that we're working with right now, I've been diving very deep into the world of LoRaWAN, so that's one of our current primary interests. I'm sure I could talk everyone's ear off about that in the near future. Yeah, what else? Oh yeah, pretty much all my background is in wildlife ecology, so this is definitely a learning curve for me, and it has been a lot of fun and cool to see kind of how to better actually move data to support science. So, yeah.
Do you want to keep directing traffic?
Oh, yeah. How about Jaren? Are you on here?
Thank you, Kim. I'm Jaron Bame. I am Scotty Strachan's student. I'm technically reside within the geography department, and I got 2 other degrees there. I'm working on my PhD right now, getting more into the technology world. I was previously a little bit more in depth into paleoclimate of the Great Basin and surroundings. I am deep in the world of LoRaWAN with Kian. Kian is kind of my technology advisor, my software and backend advisor. And we're looking to experiment a lot with soil moisture sensors connected via LoRaWAN, and trying to build that out and find some strengths and weaknesses with that. And yeah, I'm also working on some other projects, but I am transitioning more into the Wild West project as well. As many a few other people are connected with. And for that, I think I'm interested to find out who not the real Scotty Strachan is.
Fair enough.
Maybe we'll never find out.
He's everybody, right? He's a man of mystery.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, I do.
Oh, wait, it's Jeff.
It's Jeff.
It's Jeff.
Who
All right.
pranked me? Somebody pranked me. So do you like me to go?
Yeah, mention your fire camera initiative.
I will. So Jeff Egley, I'm with Utah Education Network. I'm working with Scotty and Joe and Jim and Jaron and Ken, helping support from the Utah side on the Wild West uh, project and grant they have with NSF. But very focused right now, taking a page from University of Nevada, Reno on a wildfire camera project funded through the Department of Interior. And so it has been quite a lively project. We've got a lot going on and a lot of interest here within the state as we proceed forward on this project, along with the Department of Interior. Then our legislature stepped in and provided some additional funding, unrequested. We didn't seek it out, but they pushed some more funding. So anyway, excited to get into this and see how we can support the Center for High Performance Computing here at the University of Utah. They're going to take all of that data, Joe's team, and then they will work with research on both University of Utah and some of our other campuses around the state on providing this data.
I can go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Ayori Peralta. I'm a PhD candidate at CU Boulder. From the Department of Ecology and Evolutionary Biology, I work with American pica. I've been doing that for a decade now. But for my dissertation, I actually had a network of microclimatic stations, and I'm trying to downscale from gridded climatic products all the way to the metrics that are actually important for pica conservation. So trying to develop that downscaling part. Yeah. Nice to meet you, everyone.
Well,
Tim Bailey.
Hi everyone, Tim Bailey. I'm actually the wildfire cluster co-chair, and I'm a geospatial consultant in Northern California, working primarily in wildfire issues. We use the cameras a lot. I'm kind of a tourist here because I'm more interested in kind of keeping track of what the cluster. I want to know if there's good content, but. We've profiled EnviroSensing topics in the wildfire cluster recently, and Nick Maggio from Oregon was one of our speakers last summer, and so it's definitely a technology I'm interested in keeping an eye on, but I probably will be hit or miss as participating in the cluster activities.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're definitely looking for cross collaborations with other clusters, so we'll probably be reaching out. There's a lot of people in this group that are interested in wildfire camera applications. And Shannon, I think we haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Shannon Hicks. I am a electrical research engineer at the Stroudwater Research Center, which is in near Philadelphia. So I guess I'm like the only East Coast component here. Everybody else seems to be out West. But I've been there for about 15 years now. I'm the inventor of the open source Mayfly data logger, and now the new Stonefly data logger that we developed last year for the USGS as part of a rapid deployment camera system and water depth radar system that we developed for them. We've got cellular and Wi-Fi and LoRa and all the different telemetry options for our open source loggers, and we manage the Enviro DIY forum for a lot of academic and CITSI and some government agency members there. And we also have the Monitor My Watershed data portal for receiving telemetry and doing time series analysis and posting of all of the data from all of our networks. So I've kind of been in and out with this group the last few years. My colleague Scott Ensign is usually the one who attends these meetings, but he's going to be stepping back from that after this month. So I'm going to be kind of filling in and attending most of these meetings moving forward. So I'm happy to be here.
Great. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all here.
Don't forget Jim.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Don't forget Jim Stewart.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, Jim Stewart. I'm working with Scotty on Wild West, and I'm working with Derek and Renee at Sun Corridor.
You sound so down and out. I'm sorry. I thought you had already introduced yourself.
I kind of did because I was, not Scotty Strachan, and I'm
Right.
just happy to be here.
Yeah, likewise.
I like the idea of being a Wild West tourist.
Yeah, so to Shannon, to your point about being the only East Coast person, that might be a result of the time of this meeting, which I know is pretty late for you all. And so that's one of the things that we aim to change the day and time of this meeting because it also like conflicts with another meeting, for example. But I think before we talk about that, I want to give Scotty an opportunity to talk before he has to jet.
Uh-oh, what am I going to say? Okay.
I thought you were going to give a presentation about Wild West.
Oh, okay.
Or
Yeah,
just an overview of the project
yeah,
if you don't want to go deep.
sure. Well, I did not queue up my slides. That's what I get for jumping from meeting to meeting. Let me see if I can pull this up really fast. Renee, if you want to fill for another minute and talk a little bit about some of your strategic objectives and vision for the cluster moving
Sure.
forward, then I'll have those.
Yeah, so many of you know, or at least some of you know, that the history of this cluster, which started back in, I want to say the origins of this cluster started in about 2013 or so, uh, from a working group in the Long-Term Ecological Research Network, or the LTER, if you've heard of that. And there was a group of us that were working with environmental sensors, either in the field. At the time, I was one of the field people. And then there were other folks working on the data side of that. And so we got together, formed a working group to develop best practices around the full data lifecycle with respect to environmental sensor data. And Scotty came into that group at that time. It was decided that this group needed to be larger than the LTER, and so ESIP was chosen as the home for the cluster. And so Scotty and I are both founding members. We've both previously been chair of this cluster for various lengths of time. So it's great to be back. Uh, in a kind of a new context, and Scotty will talk about that. But some of my vision for this group is to continue with these monthly cluster calls. I'd like to have some invited speakers, maybe every other month or so, depending on how we want to go with this. So have people come in and give talks, which has been well received in the past. And then we want to update the best practices, which were published in 2014 and haven't been updated since then. Another goal is to hold office hours that would be separate from this cluster meeting. If you're familiar with the data help desk type style of office hours, it's going to be something like that. We are going to try to start doing this monthly, day and time to be determined. If we don't get any people coming to office hours, we're going to use that time to work on updating the best practices. So I think those are kind of the main things that we're thinking about right now. And looks like Scotty's ready. Any questions about that or concerns before Scotty starts? Okay, take it away.
All right, thanks, Renée. I'll try to keep this to about 10 minutes. Our intent here was to give folks an overview of what all this Wild West business is about, and who are all these people, how do they come together. This is a funded project under the NSF Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure in their Cyber Infrastructure Professional Ecosystem, we'll call it expansion program, which we'll see if they continue to have solicitations out under that program or cyber teams, or if they change it to something else. But nevertheless, this project is going to be going through at least 2030. And it has four co-PIs, one of which is not on this call. So Jim Stewart is actually retired now, but Jim comes from Utah and decades of building out enterprise research and education networks in that state. Joe Breen is from the University of Utah CHPC, as he mentioned, and Derek Masseth is the executive director of the Arizona Sun Corridor Network, which is the research and education network for Arizona. And that's who Renée works for. This group of people, we put our heads together. We said, look, we need to establish new research IT professionals that support field science. We need to be very intentional about building technology solutions around that last 100 miles that many of us have, applied on our own, struggled with as an agency, or otherwise, kind of worked on in an ad hoc manner. We'd like to build some more, specific best practices and solutions around this so that we don't have to constantly reinvent the wheels, plus also be there to consult with folks like ARI and other people who are practicing scientists in the field that are trying to blend that technology with more advanced scientific questions and larger scale impacts. So this project brings together new engineering hires in each of the partnering states, which is Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. Those people are mostly here on this call. So Kian, Renée, Jaren's one of the students. There's a couple students in Utah who are not listed on this, but are still part of the project, and we'll probably see them on future calls, or at least get a chance to interact with them. And most importantly, this project is designed to also go through 5 years of staging where we get our acts together, learn how to work together, work on some common testbed problems together, and engage the community in different phases of maturity throughout. And this ESIP cluster is one of the places that we've targeted as being like a really good engagement opportunity and a place to bring together scientists and practitioners in the EnviroSensing space, together with the NSF research computing and data community, which I overlap with strongly, but most of the people in EnviroSensing do not. And those people in the advanced research and data community typically don't overlap with us in the field. And we're trying to, especially in the AI era, right, bring these groups of people together so that they can really change how science is done and technology is applied to it. So I'm probably going to go through these slides a little bit quickly. I don't have to tell people here why sensor networks is important, but I do believe in this project is an expression of the fact that there needs to be new boundary spanning research IT roles. So for example, Jaren, PhD student at UNR, is an example of that, where he's got an environmental science background, but he's doing half of his dissertation work on technology. And our professionals, Renée and Kian and myself, are all also have that similar boundary spanning role. We don't need to talk about who I am. We probably don't need to talk about why I support wild area science, although preaching to the choir, IoT or sensor tech, as we all know, is really changing how research can be done, but there's a lot of risks associated with this. This is what this cluster has really dealt with since its inception. which is how do we head off issues of thinking about your deployment when you buy stuff, the perception of accuracy versus actual quality of data, and then the long-term failure modes, degradation of both the equipment and the data. We need to improve environmental science for society. This XKCD comic actually came out, before the modern AI LLM revolution. It's still spot on. People are going to use AI to generate data if we don't do a better job of it. So that's where we all come in, right? And it's really about these different scales of end-to-end science. And in our project, we're trying to address all of these scales, which include field deployable solutions, the need to implement more advanced tech in the field or right at the edge of the field, so the aggregation points associated with the network management, identity and access, security, and of course, store and forward data workflows. And then what happens with all of this back in the data center, and where do the data go in terms of public-facing, user-facing applications, right? So we've got folks in our project that address these different parts of the workflow with their expertise, and we're hoping that we can continue to, inside of this here cluster, as we do office hours, and as we do more guest speakers and engagements from the cluster back into the community, that we still have topics that span like all of this entire workflow on these different scales. And that will be helpful, I think, for people who typically, like myself, I used to just focus on one part of it. That was the edge deployment. I've realized that we need to be doing more work end to end in order for these types of sensor network solutions to be really useful. So the researchers, right, they have an idea in their head about what they want to do. Maybe they're pretty good at building and implementing something very custom, but in the end, like they just want the science. They just want the good science. And so to get into their head and figure out what they view as how they measure success, what success looks like for them, and how they would prefer to interact with technology is one of the objectives of this grant. We don't have to talk about the true cost of sensor deployments. I don't have to talk to all of you about what this looks like because we all know. Some of the other areas of technology that we in this project are focusing on include that power generation, storage, and distribution piece, which is so critical to keeping systems alive in the field. And whether those systems are the sensors themselves, the data loggers, or the transmission, telemetry, remote management, network implementations doesn't really matter. There are different models and different ways to approach these. And when Renée talks about we want to update the best practices, there's been a lot of cool developments in that space. The same thing is true for digital communications and IP networks. There have been some really cool off-the-shelf advancements in non-IP protocols. So that's why we're putting a lot of effort into off-the-shelf LoRaWAN because some of the features have gotten pretty mature and robust that when we do some LoRaWAN focused office hours at some point later in the year, we get to talk about. And then all the software infrastructure behind this. So pretty much everything is software infrastructure at some point, right? And that includes the management of the network. It includes the identity and access. It includes the store and forward data collection and forward and transmission protocols. If you do data loggers from Campbell Scientific, you're still working with software infrastructure with the logger programs and what you're using back in the cloud or in the server to retrieve those data. So we really, again, see this as being a broad range of technologies that are part of EnviroSensing today. We all know how cool it is when you put a network out to a site. Here's a picture of Jaron helping the NSL crew with some microwave backhaul installs in Nevada. And is this the last? No, these are not the last pictures yet. Basically, this is an example of some of the networks and systems that our team has been working with and supporting. over the last few years, blah, blah, blah. At some point, some of you might want to pick Kian's brain about wildlife monitoring in remote watersheds. So Kian didn't say so, but he's done a lot of fish, bird, starting to get into things like bat monitoring and then general wildlife camera captures and using automated tooling to do identification. So this is like computer vision and machine learning applications in the field that are pretty lightweight and robust. So I'm excited to see that type of sensor network get really built out for those applications. So there we go. That's kind of the summary of the project, what we're up to, what some of our goals are, and expect to see variations on this theme as we stand up separate office hours, and then also as we continue to solicit expert presenters and guest presenters in as part of this cluster moving forward. Okay, Renee, I will shut up, stop the share, and send it back to you. And Jim and I and Joe will probably and Jeff probably duck out in a minute.
Thanks, Scotty. Any questions for Scotty before he leaves?
I see the power, the nod to power, Scotty. We've done a lot in the past year in the GS. Where our sites are terrible, right? There's one from the other are completely different. We've looked at standardizing the power and what they provide now. These little power generators, they're amazing. Good to see that on the. That kind of stood out for me. I like the office hours approach too.
Okay, well, Renee, we'll hand it back to you. We'll get out of here. And as we set up the new schedules and topical staging, we're really looking forward to seeing all of you and the rest of the EnviroSensing crew as they come in the future. So, yeah, Joe and company, I'm sure you can see. Can't tell if Steve Young is still here or not. You can probably see the fingerprints of the EnviroSensing culture in that project design. And so like we're really happy to be coming back to our roots here.
I'm still here, by the way. Good to see you, Scotty.
All right, we'll let you go. Yeah, he's gone. Okay. Bye, Joe. Jim. All right. Well, I didn't really have anything formal planned for today, but we can use this time to chat about what you would like to see going forward, any potential speakers we should be looking at, inviting, particularly for some of the upcoming months. I've heard Kian's name mentioned multiple times, so maybe Kian would like to give a presentation. But also there was some chatter in the chat that might be of interest. Yeah, thoughts?
Happy to give a presentation at some point, Renee. But yeah, I can figure that a little farther down the road as I get more ideas on everyone's specific interests and whatnot to tailor that a bit. Otherwise, it's just going to be me rambling about wildlife. So
Yeah, I mean, I think this group is pretty open and when the message goes out, like if somebody's interested in that topic, they will join. So I wouldn't worry about tailoring it too much.
And Keen, like just to add on that, like don't be or be selfish, right? If you have questions, if you're looking for a vein of expertise or something, you can bring that out too. And this way you get something back from it. It's kind of I've kind of taken that from Scotty and Renee and tried to keep it where you don't have to bring that polished thing, right? Like you could bring something that you're building and constructing. So keep that in mind. Animal tracking is pretty hot right now in some of my spaces. So Be great to just hear what you're doing.
Cool.
Yeah, I put it in chat, but a friend of mine has been active. He started out with an interest in bats, but the wildlife acoustics monitors that he's deployed, he's picking up bats, birds, calling amphibians, and he's been having fun using, I think Kaleidoscope is the name of the software that, basically analyzes his audio recordings and helps him figure out, what's making the noise. And they've actually found, for example, unexpected populations of leopard frogs in the Aurora, Colorado area. They've been able to document and then go out and actually find them after picking up their calls. So, but he's got a primitive arrangement. He has to literally go out on foot and change out batteries and retrieve SD cards. So, it would be nice if he could take advantage of LoRaWAN or whatever and not have to troop out there as often as he's doing right now.
Yeah, very familiar with that workflow. The tribe I work for at least for their bat detections, done the same thing in the past, and yeah, they Kaleidoscope has them on the hook for recurring software purchases, that sort of thing. So, uh, yeah, I would love to see. It definitely exists in the bird and frog space these days. Like BirdNet, for example, is pretty dang impressive for uh, some amphibian and pretty much every bird species on the face of the earth at this point, as far as its performance is concerned. But yeah, I would love to see more expansion of the bat space because like the NA bat data set is, in the millions or maybe tens of millions of observations at this point. So I would love to see a little bit more expansion in that in the open source community.
Cool.
Yeah,
I
Steve,
also,
I
I'm
was
sorry, go ahead.
definitely, yeah, I was definitely a little confused by what you meant by sneaker net, and I think that's hilarious. And I guess that's probably kind of the uh, antagonist of our plot here is how do we get rid of sneaker net and bring it down entirely? So I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
sneakernet is an old school term, so I'm showing my age by rolling that term out. But yeah, yeah.
It's like John Henry against the train, right? I can run this data back before it gets through your servers, right? Yeah, that happens, Steve. That's an old term for us, right?
There was an era when at EPA we had PCs out there, but we didn't have local area networks yet. And there was sort of that transitional period before we started to network things together more. And there was a lot of running files around by SneakerNet. I was hearing, it seems like there's a fair amount of energy in the wildfire space, like Tim mentioned and reminded me, and these wildfire camera deployments I think are pretty interesting. And I was impressed by the guy Nick Maggio spoke at the summer ESIP meeting about what they're doing at the Hazards Lab at University of Oregon, and it seemed like they were doing some pretty cool stuff out out there from what he was describing.
Yeah, do you think he'd be a good person to invite to give a talk to our cluster?
I do. I thought he was very good when he
Cool.
spoke. Yeah, at the meeting. It was the summer meeting. Yeah, last summer.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
And I do have a friend. If there was any trouble connecting with him, I could try to tap into my friend to help.
Yeah, he was actually pointed to us by someone from Wi-Fi at San Diego Supercomputer Center, which is closely associated with the California network, which is I think up to like 1,300 cameras as
Oh
well.
wow.
I think Nick's network is probably really well aligned with the Wild West project, just because he's working with Department of Interior and BLM extensively, and also covers a lot of desert. But the Alert California folks are another crew doing some really pretty cool work, and especially on the use of the cameras as an early warning system.
Yeah, Tim, do you have or know of people using wildfire camera networks not necessarily for fire, but for year-round like monitoring cases? I personally use the Alert California, just the public-facing stuff, and the NSL public-facing website, just to get a general view of snowfall coverage, snow line, just general conditions around the area. And I am kind of have some ideas to try to add some more time lapse, I don't know, frames of reference to add in for the Seismo Networks camera, kind of overlaying places that I have sensors in situ out there. So yeah, I was just kind of wondering if you or anybody knew of people that are kind of like outwardly doing projects using fire camera networks for purposes other than fire.
Yeah, so this is very old. This is like a contact from 2018, but there was a group that I think was at Northern Arizona that was part of the PhenoCam network that were using. They were developing software for cameras that were on the neon flux towers, and they had a lot of software development. But I mean, I'm sure that content has evolved a lot in the last 8 years. Uh, I don't know. But it's definitely a point of interest for a lot of people, and Nick is kind of looking for he's kind of exploring new uses because like Alert California, it's available as long as you pull the stream down. The retention of the data sets are not necessarily guaranteed at this point, as far as I understand. Which I'm
Right.
sure is going to be a discussion within Wild West as well, is like what is adequate storage and access.
Yeah, so the Phenocam folks are colleagues. I can certainly check with Andrew on what they're doing in this realm these days and report back, or invite somebody from his team to come give a talk.
Tim and others, I dropped the USGS HiViz dashboard in, which has been developed over the past couple of years, not specifically for fire, but for basic environmental monitoring. And maybe there's a chance here where we can integrate some of those streams um, into kind of that basin side of things. This is specific to GS sites, but they're, like I said, most of them don't have a purpose for fire. They just have a purpose for some type of monitoring at the site. Snowpack, for example. A number of the ones in Colorado this year have been used for visually identify early how bad it's going to be with respect to the lack of a snowpack, because they've done that, right? Juxtapose 2 years of imagery from the same mountain. It was white 2 years ago. It's completely, vegetation in view right now. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if there's a spot for that to fit into those streams. Maybe that's like a office hours thing, Renee. Kind of integrating other streams into the favored streams, if you will.
The snowpack story is I mean that's a like almost all of the the fire cameras are going to tend to be at the highest elevation that can be, and that seems like a killer stream that could be captured fairly trivially.
Yeah, one of the projects that I'm kind of collecting data for is using soil moisture sensors and air temperature sensors at different heights, kind of checking just monitoring the difference of burned areas and unburned areas with snow retention and snow accumulation and snow on and off as well. But right, like that's pretty hard to infer, very precisely. And having just a zoomed in shot from one of the fire cameras, is it white or is it not? And is there a specific day that coincides with the data pulled up? Just looking at extra optical corroboration, which is, yeah, that's kind of one thing that I'm interested in. And there's so much data, video just available on the internet, which I guess that's an office hours thing, yeah, because everybody has their favorite place to go get imagery, and maybe you know of one that others don't, and coalescing that together could be kind of cool.
Any thoughts from folks we haven't heard from yet? And also, I see we have somebody joined us later, Andrea Williams. Sorry to call you out, but if you would like to introduce yourself, that would be nice. If not, that's okay too. Anybody else? Oh, there's Andrea.
Yeah, let's see. I'm just seeing if I can get my camera. Not sure if I can get the camera.
No worries.
Yeah, my name is Andrea Williams. I'm a soil scientist. I just heard about this group, and I find this really interesting just with the various remote sensing and spectroscopy, in a sense, that I've worked with. And so I wanted to see kind of just what the discussion was about, what topics were in the news, and just so much information out there, so many new things happening that it's great to learn a little bit about what other people are doing, and see where I can grow professionally as well. Yeah,
Cool.
thanks for
And
having me.
where are you located?
I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. Yeah, uh, you probably missed some of the early introductions, but we're kind of kicking off a new direction of the cluster, and there's a lot of opportunity here. I also do a lot of work in soils as an ecologist, so we'll certainly be talking about soils at some point
Great.
in the future.
Looking forward to it.
There's a neat effort in the GS using cosmic soil moisture monitors, right? We have to spend a lot of money, right? We can't just buy a inexpensive sensor. We have to buy like these tens of thousands of dollars sensors. But there was a lot of work on cosmic ray sensors for soil moisture. If it's of interest, Renee, I can try and wrangle some folks up.
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. There's a lot of change there. And a lot of expertise leave last year in our
Yeah,
soil monitoring section. So, but I'll see who's left. See what they have.
cool. Yeah, that'd be great, Joe. Thank you. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
as
don't
I
know if
put
you,
into the yeah, just adding to that, I put into the notes that I love weather and snow and dirt, and I'm not necessarily a soil scientist or have a huge amount of expertise in that, but that's certainly where my PhD direction is going heavily. So I am definitely like a sponge looking to learn a whole lot about different ways people are measuring soil and the pros and cons and strengths and weaknesses thereof. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear a lot more about the cosmic as well.
Yeah, great. Todd Caldwell was out of Nevada.
I
I believe.
know of him. He's leading the soil moisture monitoring network or something like that, right?
That's where I believe he went there when he left us. Yeah, it was a big hit, but he had to go. I mean, we were just doing dumb things, so it was hard to see him go. But yeah, it's great to hear that's where he's kind of landed in a sense. Um, I'll look and see if I can get in touch with him again. But if not, I know a couple of the folks that were working with him, so something. I'll see what I can put together.
Yeah, I'm on a paper with him too, so I don't know him, but like if your efforts fail, I can certainly bang on that door too.
Great. Yeah, Todd's a really easygoing, in that sense person too. I can't remember. I tried to get him in to this group early, but I can't remember if we ever connected. And
Uh, that's that's a good group that we should find some synergies with here. Yeah, seems like they're at least just here, there's a lot of interest in soils, so
mhm,
why not?
yeah, the GS is big on the water model, and
Hmm.
so they're pushing soil sensors
Mm.
and such.
this is reminding me it might be kind of too far afield, but the stuff that's going on with eDNA these days is
Yeah.
really pretty interesting. And there might be some logical intersection with the cluster. I have no idea whether there's any like continuous monitoring of eDNA going on. That seems a little bit far-fetched, but
Uh,
yes.
Actually, my friend Sarah just defended her thesis yesterday on environmental DNA. And so she worked at 6, 7 national parks where they were collecting, like, literally putting these filters of air quality, right? And she discovered that the communities of bacteria is changing spatially and temporarily. And she was uh, talking about this she's proposing like a network of environmental DNA collection. Perhaps I could invite her to this group at some point if that's something you guys are interested in hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that sounds super cool to me.
Yeah, so there was this meeting in Montana a few years ago. In fact, I think that's where we met you, Joe, that meeting at Flathead Lake.
Sensor space.
Yes, sensor
Yeah.
space. And that was
Yeah.
like pre-COVID, right? So um they were like trying to do some kind of automated in situ eDNA. Do you remember that? They showed like I don't know
Yes.
if it was
Was it
just
they
like a
were
proof of
emulsifying?
concept or what. What?
Yes, I do remember that, and I thought that they were using like an emulsification
Yeah.
technique to isolate it. Maybe bring them back. I don't. I think Scotty said that, or was it you said that they shut that lab down?
Yeah, I think something weird happened. I'm not totally sure.
Yeah. Um,
The, yeah, because I think there was
is it
some
Youngblood?
momentum, but maybe there was like a personality clash or something. I don't know. I don't remember. Some kind of political thing, I think.
Yeah. I thought. Man, I cannot remember the professor's name that was leading up the sensor space. Was it Cody? Young was it? It wasn't Youngblood.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. I
Yes.
think he ended up in DC.
Okay.
Um, anyway,
Hmm.
who knows? But big change, right? From was it 2018? Yeah. But they were
Yeah.
they were digging into that, yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we have a bunch of leads on people that could speak at the May meeting. So I think that's what we're gonna do is plan to have a speaker for May. And w- Kian, you're off the hook, I think, for now. And yeah, we'll try to bring in one of these other people that was mentioned. And I might work with some of you directly on that. And then also at the next meeting, I think we'll be a little bit more prepared to talk about the office hours structuring and how that's going to work. We do need to find a different day and time for this meeting. Any strong preferences from this group?
Not too early Eastern. I live on the East Coast, but I work with California. So like I get
Well,
up,
yeah, some of us are in Pacific time as well, so yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I'm being selfish there, right? I used to um be able to control that a little bit more, but if possible,
Yeah. I mean,
something
we've got
after
3
12.
East Coasters here right now, 4
Right.
ish.
I think it's a good time for the East
Yeah.
Coast. It's kind of like a happy hour, but I'm biased.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
checking.
it just conflicts with the Scotty's meeting and then yeah, I don't know. Uh we had some concerns it might be a little late for East Coast folks, but maybe that's not an issue. We'll talk internally and try to land on something and hopefully that'll work for the rest of you and um yeah, thanks for joining. And I think I'm going to end the meeting now.
Cool. Well, good to see everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Nice
Thanks
to
for
meet
running
you.
things.
Nice to meet everybody.
Yes. Yeah.